Hey, my name is Tracy Sabo, and I don't believe in anger management. I believe in anger empowerment. We don't need to be managed. In fact, that's the very thing that got us in this position in the first place. Welcome to my channel, where I talk all things really foundationally around anger. I talk about life in general. I talk about empowering you to not live a life of anger by tapping into your anger. Yeah, it's a very fun little paradox that I like to play in. But yeah, if you're new here, welcome. If you're not, I'm so happy to see you again. I've had a community for years now, anywhere from like 4 to 5 years online. I've connected with people in a really beautiful way. If you don't already know, I am a certified breathwork trauma-informed life coach, as well as a breathwork facilitator. And I have been facilitating people in any of their life struggles for the last 4 to 5 years. However, the last 3 years of my life have been put on the back burner with that. And this is for reasons what you see titled in this video here, mainly around me not feeling like myself the last 3 years of my life. Truly, in hindsight, me not remembering the last 3 years of my life. That title was truly not for clickbait, I can assure you. When I say that I don't remember the last 3 years of my life, what I mean by that is most of my experience throughout that time, I was very dissociative, which means that I was gonna say I tried to numb from my pain, but I think it actually became very natural for me very quickly because I was so shut down by traumatic experiences that I was having that it only felt natural for me to dissociate, to ignore it, to numb, to escape from it. And so yeah, what I will say is before I filmed this video right here now that you're watching, I wasn't even planning on doing this today, but because I am creating a brand new YouTube channel, which actually I have had this channel set up since 2020, at least that's what YouTube tells me, like September 2020. But I just had it for purposes of like following people and subscribing to other YouTubers, but I never really like used it to make my own content. The only time I ever did actually was sending out private videos to people on my email list, on my newsletter. And I did a couple bit of those. And because I was on YouTube, kind of setting up this video today, I looked back at those private videos. There were like 3 of them where I filmed myself teaching and guiding a breathwork practice for my email community. And oh my goodness, that was 4 years ago. Those 3 videos were filmed 4 years ago, and I was a completely different 360 person. Sorry about the little ding if you heard that. That was my Bluetooth speaker shutting off, but yeah, I really was. And I was a completely different person in a way where, I mean, yes, it was 4 years ago, so I was younger, there's the obvious, and my embodiment was so different. My energy was softer, it was present, and that has not been me and what I have been experiencing the last 3 years. where to even go from there? Watching those 3 breathwork videos that I filmed for my community 4 years ago, I'm actually really happy that I stumbled upon those and I took the time to watch them, because what it allowed me to realize was that I was ready to make this video today, because after watching them, or while watching them, I wasn't experiencing any sort of like sadness or any depression, which I would have experienced a couple years back. Beating myself up of how I'm not the same person, or even grieving, right? We can grieve a version of ourselves, of who we used to be, and have completely lost our spark, which is what I feel like I'm going to be talking a lot about on this channel, is how I lost my spark and the ways that I am getting that back. And I lost my spark the last 3 years of my life. I feel like the more I talk about this, the more I find myself slightly beating around the bush, because you might be wondering, like, well, what was it, Tracy? Like, what were the things that were so painful for you? And how'd you dissociate for so long, where you couldn't talk about it, you couldn't feel it? Over the last year or so, I've kind of, like, for lack of a better word, hinted here and there on my email community, on my Instagram page, that I have experienced, frankly, really traumatic things with my immediate family. It's just hard to talk about, right? Because you don't want to say names. You don't want to put any, ill will into or onto another person, and that's not what I'm here to do. It really is not what I'm here to do. This is for me to, like, speak my truth and finally clear out, reclaim my power, clear out that heaviness, that density, that stagnant, intense energy. And this is mental too. I mean, the ever looping thoughts of these traumatic experiences I have had with my family, to be able to talk about it more openly, I feel like it's part of the healing process. And I am back in therapy now. I am so happy to say it took me a long time to get back there, but I am here. And I feel like I want to do everything I can to keep speaking my truth. As many of us have, no doubt, I'm sure, if you're watching this video, even most likely maybe, that I have a very, very dysfunctional family of origin. I grew up in a family system where I found out later in my adult life recently, I was kind of treated as the scapegoat, the child, the family member who is different, who sees things differently, who talks differently, who moves throughout the world differently, and has a completely, who values things differently, and has just a completely different way of life, of living. And that everybody in the family unit, looking from the outside in, feels threatened by that version of that family member, to the point where I've experienced really, really hurtful things from my mother, my brother, even my sweet grandmother, which is probably the hardest one for me, honestly, to admit. And I have had to, the experiences with my family have been so bad that they were so scary for me that I had to cut some of them out. I had to go no contact. Some of them I went low contact with, because I realized what I experienced 3 years ago actually wasn't anything new. It wasn't something where I just woke up one day and I was like, that one thing you did to me is not gonna cut it, and I am going to back away now. No, this has been a continual thing that woke me the fuck up and had me realize, oh my God, this is a feeling in my body that I have experienced most of my life in interaction with these people. Oh, wow. Like, I actually feel unsafe in my body around you right now. Oh, wow. My nervous system doesn't feel like it can fully express and be itself around you. These were these micro that eventually turned into macro instances that, again, woke me the fuck up and had me realize, oh, right, okay. I see clearly now that the way I'm being treated is making me sick. It's making me ill, and it is not normal. Well, it should not be looked at as normal. But my family unit, my family of origin, has created this system where being disrespectful to other people isn't looked at as disrespect. It's looked at as gaslighting. It's looked at as manipulation. It's looked at as even an excuse as, well, that's just the way they are. And completely ignoring and invalidating the actual experience that is happening, the reality of it all. And I realized 3 years ago, I went through this, it was almost like a reawakening, because I saw this with my brother 4 years ago when I just said, enough is enough. I will not be treated with this disrespect that you are constantly thrusting upon me. But then it was 3 years ago when I realized, oh, well, my brother must have learned this from somewhere, from someone. And I started to realize that I was being mistreated by my mother. And that we would just have a casual sit down, a casual drive together, a casual conversation. And I just noticed that out of nowhere, her energy just started to feel so dark. That's how it was with my brother. And then I started noticing with my mom, and I said, oh, wow, this is familiar. Again, in these normal situations where everything should feel comfortable and fine and casual, and we're just going about our daily lives, I would viscerally feel this darkness come over these people and start to be projected onto me. And I went, oh, no. I am not going through this again. I'm not going through this again. And I was in denial for a while. I was in denial for a little bit about it, because I said to myself, no, it's one thing to deal with this with my brother, but with my mother, I don't think I can, not even emotionally handle that. But physically deal and handle that and mentally navigate that reality that, oh, people with that title too can treat you bad, very poorly. And, oh, like, this isn't just something you see in the movies or in storybooks. Like, this actually happens in real life with people too, in the real world. And I started to remember I knew I was gonna get to a point in this video where, like, I probably was gonna, like, dissociate a little bit, and that's not even me doing it on purpose. That's, like, my brain literally protecting me so that I don't go to a place that I'm not ready to go to just yet, that I don't go overboard, that I can feel safe to take my time. So I kind of had a little bit of a for lack of a better word, brain fart there. But yeah, family for me is a very triggering word. It's a very triggering topic. And family, mine in particular, and the experiences I had with them broke me down. Completely broke my spirit 3 years ago. And so at the time, I was living with my mother in Florida after kind of settling down from some long-term solo traveling and trying to pick myself back up on my feet, find my footing and my grounding so that I could financially get to a better place financially at the time, which is why I went back there. And it was an experience that showed me that I will never live with her again. I don't want to say never say never, but because you never know what will happen, right? In their later years. And in this time of my life, in this period of my life where I feel like I completely lost myself, I would notice I would only feel that way when I was in their presence, when I was in their environment and in their house, right? This is my house. I would hear that a lot. Like, that's one of the manipulative tactics to make you feel bad. Saying things like that. This is my house. You're too sensitive. My brain's blocking out some things right now. I can tell I'm dissociating. And it would just get to the point where, like, it wasn't even so much of just, like, being triggered. Like, we all get triggered by things, right? Like, it's natural, it's human. It's like, we naturally get triggered by things. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. That's how we know what needs more attention, right? But it got to the point where I was realizing, like, oh, this isn't just a trigger I'm experiencing. This is, like, the actual reality of a form of abuse. And that word was a really, really hard word for me to swallow and digest and navigate with as my truth. I want to show you something really, really quickly. I'm just going to grab it. It's right here next to me. This book, when I finally broke away from my mom 3 years ago at the end of 2023 when I was there in Florida. That's actually where I was trying to go with this. Was I didn't want to stay in Florida. I knew I didn't want to stay in Florida. But I had to get out of that physical environment. I wasn't safe there. I was becoming ill. I was becoming sick. I was scared all the time being around them. Like, it was not a safe environment for me to be in. So I was just thinking of all these places I could go to, and it didn't take me very long. I don't have family where I'm born and raised anymore, which is in New Jersey, but I did have a family friend, I guess you can say, my childhood best friend's parents were like the first people I reached out to, who still live up in New Jersey. And I said, I didn't give them much to work with. I didn't really give them much context, but I just said, I cannot be here right now. I'm scared. It's not healthy for me to be here. I have nowhere else to go. Can you please take me in just so I can catch my breath, just so I can breathe? And this was a very, very, very short notice for them. It was a hard time for everybody involved. And when I finally got up to New Jersey, it was my way of literally catching my breath. I wasn't even trying to rebuild my life at that point because everything was so fresh. Everything was so new, and I was so confused. That's the thing. I was so confused. I could not make sense of my life at that point in time because my nervous system felt so unsafe and so dysregulated and scared. So going back to New Jersey, I was there for 7 months, but I was really just there because I needed an escape. I needed a safe place to go. And I just needed to fucking catch my breath. So one evening, I remember particularly, I went to Barnes & Noble. I don't know, I just wanted to get out of the house. And I felt called to go to the personal development section, specifically on authors who wrote books regarding narcissism. Because when I left my mother's house and I was flying on a plane from Florida up to New Jersey, I felt naturally and instinctively drawn to this podcast. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it was a podcast about narcissists and how you know you have narcissists in your life and what narcissism at the core really is. And I try not to just throw these words around, right? Like abuse and narcissism and all of that. So that's why I started listening to these podcasts and reading these books before I really started talking about it. This one's called The Narcissist in Your Life, Julie L. Hall. Because I wanted to make sure that I was as informed as I possibly could be before I spoke out loud that, yes, I relate to this. Yes, this is my reality too. So I made sure, I took my time and I did my research and I made sure that what I was experiencing was real because, like I said, when I left, I was very confused. I was very, very confused. And so I went to Barnes & Noble one night. I wasn't even specifically looking for this book, but it found me. That it did. And I just remember just turning to, let's see, what is the I was gonna say prologue. The forward? I don't know. The introduction of the page. The introduction. Like not even like the beginning of the book, but like the introduction. And even this page alone. I was reading it. I remember I was sitting on the floor at Barnes & Noble, just reading the introduction page, and I was starting to sob. And that's when I knew. That is when I knew. I said, oh, okay, yeah, I am not crazy. I'm not crazy. The things that I have been feeling, that I have been thinking, that I have been experiencing have been real. And what narcissistic people will do is they will use those manipulative tactics to tell you otherwise, to make you believe that you are the crazy one and that your reality is false. That you're delusional, that you're the one. That's the biggest one, that you're the one that needs help. The people that actually need help and are too ignorant and afraid and pish posh about it to get it, they're the ones that need help. They're the ones that are the people that are projecting the pain and causing so much hurt onto others. It's the people that say, no, I don't need help. No, I don't need help. You need help. You don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. Look at it. Look at everything I've done for you. Right? So, abuse is not just physical. Abuse is not just physical. It is verbal, which then causes emotional abuse, invalidating of feelings, acting like your feelings don't matter, or putting it right back onto them and having them be the ones that are really taking the space to be like, yeah, but I feel, yeah, but it's like, it's a yeah, but dance of, I'm really trying to tell you how this hurt me and how I don't want to experience this again. And I'm looking for some sort of repair here. And the narcissist will be like, yeah, but me, yeah, but I, yeah, but this, yeah, but. And it just completely invalidates your whole emotional experience. Abuse is mental. The last 3 years, I have gone through so many mental loops of re-experiencing these traumatic moments that I wasn't ready to do because I wasn't in therapy yet. I wasn't ready to do because it was too soon. Trauma is anything that happens too fast, too much, and too soon. And so, yeah, like coming on here on this video today is extremely difficult for me to do. Like the act of doing it as I speak right now is extremely difficult, and I'm scared as fuck to post this because, again, right, like this is the internet. Everyone can see this, and people can take advantage of you even online. People can take advantage of you and your story and use words against you. Like we all know, like haters online, and they'll just like hide away in the comments and judge you or invalidate you. And to that I say, well, you are proving my point to this video. People are hurting everywhere because the world is a scary place in the sense that there are so many people out there that are not willing to get help. The people who are abusive, the people who do project their pain onto others foolishly and unnecessarily. This is happening everywhere. And yeah, my personal experience with it didn't allow me to be my true, bright, present, authentic self like I was 4 to 5 years ago, because the experiences I had broke me down. Quite plainly. I mean, like, as humans, we are strong, and we can also be really fragile, and that's not a bad thing. Like, I think highly sensitive people and empathic people are truly some of the most powerful people in the entire world, and we need more of us. We need more empaths stepping forward and giving our experiences justice and being like, this isn't right. And sometimes we need to step away. Sometimes we need to go to that extent. Not because we're trying to prove a point or we're trying to follow a trend, which, like, I can't stand, because the whole no contact thing is not a trend. Cutting your family off, or whoever, your friend, whoever it is not a trend. It is someone crying out for help and finally saying, enough is enough. I can't live if I continue to be treated in this way, let alone just be myself. I can't live with myself if I'm continuing to let and endure the treatment of disrespect and abuse constantly be thrown at me. I can't live like that. And I want to live. So I had to leave. Yeah, wow, I never have said it out loud like that before. Wow. I want to live, so I had to leave. Yeah. And that's the reality. It wasn't like one of those things where it was like, oh, now that I've left, like, the next day I can feel renewed and be myself again. Like, no, this has been years. I'm 33 years old, and it's been most of my life of this constant neglect and manipulation and mistreatment, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I loved myself enough to leave, to distance, to find myself again, to catch my breath and recreate my life, because there was a point in time before all that happened, just like a year before, 2 years before it, where I truly felt so alive. In those videos I talked about, where me, like, teaching breathwork to my email community, I was at the height, the peak of my just feeling so empowered and in love with life and how I felt about me in my body and in my mind and in my values and my perspective on life. It was just such a beautiful, juicy, magical time of my life. So to go from that high to that low by people who are supposed to love you and continue to say that they love you to this day, and you just feel nothing. You're like, not based off of what you showed me. It's really, really difficult. So yeah. It takes time for people who have experienced abuse, particularly familial abuse, to bounce back and get their spark back. Which is what I've been actively reclaiming. And yeah, no, it hasn't been easy in the least. When I post this, I am probably going to think about this for days and be really scared that it's out there on the interwebs. And what are people gonna say? What are people gonna not say? Like, by people not even acknowledging and not saying anything on this video, will that mean that, like, I'm not important, you know? Like, I absolutely still go through those thoughts. Because abuse will break you down. So, yeah, I haven't really remembered the last 3 years of my life because I haven't been present. I haven't felt like myself. So I'm definitely feeling more like myself these days, or else I probably wouldn't be sharing these videos like I am now. But just know that if you're experiencing anything like this, you deserve time and you deserve justice. And yeah, like, you know, on Instagram and here on YouTube, like, I'm calling myself the nicest angered girl because while I know I do have a pure heart and soul, and I am a very good person, and I lead by values that are really, in my experience, healthy. Yeah, there's a lot of nice things about me. And that this is a yes and. I am also angry. I'm also a nice girl who's angry. And I'm just finding my way back by feeling into that anger again, by speaking on here, by going back to my somatic practices to help me, like breathwork, embodiment, to help me feel again. Because that is genuinely the whole point of life, is to feel again, is to feel alive. That is the point of being here, is to feel deeply. So I'm reclaiming it. And part of feeling deeply is feeling my anger. So, like I said at the top of this video, I don't believe in anger management. I believe in anger empowerment. I believe in alchemizing the anger. Because there's nothing to be managed. You don't need to be managed. I don't need to be managed. That is the very thing that got us in this position in the first place.